G'day friends, welcome to playtest, nope, Collage Club. I've got so many things going on. Welcome to Collage Club, February 2023. This is the set of sheets that are available for February, which is Valentine's Day month. I did get very carried away with the Valentine's Day stuff, so let's get into it. The first couple of sheets, I wanted to do this idea for so long. I have a whole bunch of stamp sets that I've made, and I use most of them this way. It's called Stamp and Illustration, which is basically just saying I'm going to cheat. I don't have to draw any of the base of my work. I can just stamp it out and draw over the top of it. So essentially I take my stamp set, second generation stamp it, or use a really light ink, and then I draw over the top of it. Kind of like the stamp becomes a blueprint or a base for what I eventually want to add on top, this like character overlay or whatever. So what I've done was taken that and I did a Valentine's Day interpretation of a ton of stamps. Like literally, I think every stamp set that had a face or a body in it, I've used at least one of them from that stamp set. So there's tons of them. I have colored them digitally though, which is very different from me. You know, I'm still learning about it. I'm still finding my feet there. I do think I found things that I like this time, so I'll kind of explain what I think worked better for me this month than it did in December when I was doing the Whoville stuff and I was kind of practicing. I really loved this. She's a bit of a sad girl. She's not having a great Valentine's Day. Or maybe she is. Maybe she loves bad Valentine's Day and that's her whole vibe. She's giving emo. But I did this as a very flat color with some strong shadows in the hair, but like the whole skin tone was very flat one color. And I just did some really smudgy eye, which I felt like was really a really nice way to kind of bring the eye detail out. So I really like this flat look. Also, and you can see it here, I really like taking the line work and keeping it the original pencil line work that I did. Even if I do it in pen, like whatever my original line work is, I don't think I want to clean that up in Procreate and make it look digital, because that's, to me, like that's where I lose a lot of the charm of the image when it becomes way too digital. And so I like that when I scanned in my pencil lines, I just made those the lines that I used to color in. I didn't try to clean any of them up. This was also another thing that I liked, was taking some of those pencil lines and recoloring them. So instead of having a gray graphite pencil, this was like, I changed the gray to pink. So it was a lot softer of an effect, and you can still see the outlines, but it's a very soft looking outline. It's not so heavy and dark like having a black outline. See how this still has a bit of that dark black gray outline, and this has all that dark gray. This even has a bit of a gray that I probably could have changed, but this is a lot softer. I was experimenting with all of it. Even with the coloring styles, here I experimented with doing a few gradients. So she became very Malibu Barbies, like Malibu Miami Barbie. Yes, she's a full coastal crossover, this one, but she looks fabulous. And then this, I did lots of gradients in here as well. You know, I think I was a little, I don't know if I loved the soft blending of it, because that's where it starts to get a little too digital again for me, ironically, because this does look very digital, but I like this one. And see, I really liked how this was turning out, this kind of broken heart face, but I felt like everything was too soft. Like all this shading, it just looked too digital. Here, I didn't mind it. I've got these highlights going on, but they almost look like a heat map, like they're very separated highlight areas. It's not all totally blended. I liked that a little bit more. But I think where my favorites kind of were the flat color effect, like these ones here, this one here. Though I think I'm really attracted to the flat coloring with some really standard shadows, and not even blended shadows, like these really harsh, blocky shadows. So that's where my thoughts are. I'm not quite sure. I think obviously it's personal preference, but I thought I'd let you know where I was going with it. So anyway, this is my Just Face stamp set. This is one of my original ones, that kind of side body, 3/4 profile one. I think some of these are from, this one was the original concepts face. I did this as a ribbon. I made the line work pink as well, so it was a really soft kind of ballet ribbon effect. Love that. This was the Akiko and Ayako stamp sets. Is that what I called them? I think I did. This one's the tiny little retro kawaii one from Virtual Voyage 6, Tokyo A Go-Go. Anyway, tons of those. Let me know if you can figure out where these stamp sets are from. If you have these stamp sets, I'm sure you can figure out which one is which. But yeah, loved those. And there were so many, I kept doing them. This is the Steve and James one. Technically this one is supposed to be Steve and this one's supposed to be me, but I did switch them. So this one was Steve with his blonde hair, he's the Cupid, and this one's me just giving it all that, giving very much Rhythm Nation. I don't know how that happened, but I added the heart, the broken heart face in again because I wanted to try it with a flat color effect. And see, I don't think this is bad. It just wasn't my preference. I just preferred this one better. I felt like it read nicer, and I don't know, you could see all the line work a lot better. This one, all the line work disappeared when I did that soft shading. So yeah, I'm curious to know, do you like the flat coloring or do you like a lot of the shading? Do you like a mixture of both? Because technically this one is a mixture of both. I have that soft shading around the eyes. I think if it's used sparingly, I'm a little bit happier with it. But like this one is soft shading, they're just flat color, and I love this one. Like this one I think is one of the most effective images from the whole set, and that one is just the line work and the flat coloring. Anyway, I kind of tried to stick to a whole color palette of purple, pink, red. But then I just got carried away. So there's grays in there. There's obviously all of these colors in there. There's no reason to keep it all cohesive, but for the most part, it was all Valentine's Day inspired. So some things I feel like could translate out of Valentine's Day. Like you could use her for something else. You could probably use her for something else if you change the heart earrings. She's giving Satine from Moulin Rouge. So I guess that's not exclusively Valentine's, but like her, she's a box of chocolates. I mean, there's no way she's not Valentine's. Cupid, there's no way he's not. This one, I mean, maybe. He's got a heart on his tie. I really tried to put it in everywhere, so you could not escape it. You could not get rid of my love. This is a pastel version. You know those candy hearts, the conversation hearts? That's her. I did a light brown line work for her, so I changed the graphite to light brown. I felt like that was a really good choice for that one. And then a few of these little things that pop up in these spaces are repeats of what you're about to see, because I just wanted to make sure you had tons of what's on the next page, because I love it so much. And I think we'll just move on from this one. Just some of the stamp sets: Cutie Pie, Concepts, original one. I think Concepts 2, the 3/4 body. Stephen James, Concepts 3, the profile, and the Unbothered one. Do you remember the Unbothered stamp set? If you have these stamp sets, some people are looking for them, I always try to mention this. I don't know if I've mentioned it already, but in the Facebook group, you're more than welcome to go and post like, hey, looking for this stamp set that James used to sell. Anyone want to sell one to me, or anyone want to trade for one? Like if you want to buy, sell, swap, trade, barter, bargain, do whatever you want to do, go and do it in my Facebook group, because a lot of people are willing to, swap or trade or sell some of the old stuff that they have that they're just not using anymore. And this one is from years ago, and I know a few people have been looking or requesting for that set. I don't really have plans to bring it back. I never say never, but I really don't have plans to at this point. So your best bet is to go and, I think, post in that group. It's linked in the description below, the Burkmates Creative Outlet Facebook group. Just go see what people are willing to help you out with in there. It'll be all good. And then this is Virtual Voyage 2, Burtonville. Who remembers this? This is one of my favorite workshops I've ever taught, and it was just 2 weeks. We really packed it all in. At the time, Wednesday Addams wasn't a character, so you'll see some work pop up in here that is relevant to this as well. But this specific work came from a lesson called The Nightmare Before Insert Holiday Here. And basically the idea was I took The Nightmare Before Christmas and used that, but instead of Christmas, we could substitute it out for any other holiday. So I did Valentine's Day. A lot of people did like Easter or Thanksgiving or The Nightmare Before July 4th, like whatever celebration you had. You could even do The Nightmare Before my birthday. But whatever celebration or holiday it was, we were supposed to bring that Tim Burton kind of twist to it. And imagine that Jack Skellington opened the door to one of those other holidays. So there's the door. And in my journal, it totally does open into the next spread, which is a full double-page spread of The Nightmare Before Valentine's Day. So I've just got a lot of Tim Burton-esque, Tim Burton-inspired creatures and creepy crawlies, like these little love bugs that I put in there. I love these dangling skull heart things. These were a couple of sketch ideas that I did for the main character, the main Cupid character that I wanted. So this one was like a postal heart stamp. And a love bug body. This one is the love bug. I eventually settled on the love bug coming out of the teddy bear's head. So that's what I ended up using. But yeah, I've got these beautiful arrows here. Lots of little envelopes, love mail that you can send off. Just wanted to add as much of this in here as I could. So you'll see lots of these little skulls floating around in any of the gaps as well. I had such a great time with this. If this is one of those lessons that you don't remember from Burtonville, I'd encourage you to go back and do this one because this one was one of my favorites. And I feel like it's just it's such a good interchangeable lesson. Like, it's one you can really revisit and do again and again and again with different subject matters. So Valentine's Day, because it's February, and I realized I had never shared this before, so I wanted to make sure that you had a good opportunity to play with this and get this in your journals. And yeah, that's one part of Burtonville that we'll touch on. The other part is down here, and like I was saying, we didn't use the Addams Family as a subject in that original workshop because Tim Burton hadn't done anything with the Addams Family, which I was very surprised about. I mean, he may have done like a little drawing here or there, but he didn't have any big movies or television shows or anything, work that he had actually created that I could pull from to create a whole lesson or anything. And I thought, you know what? I'll just leave it out because we already had so much to put into those 2 weeks. But I always wanted to do it. I always loved the Addams Family. I love Wednesday Addams as a character. And so in Playtest Patreon 3, we are doing a series called Wednesday Wednesdays. And I took out my old journals from that workshop and I just reimagined Wednesday Addams as a lot of the work in that journal. So when I would see something and I was like, oh yeah, I could try Wednesday like that, I would do it. And which is so funny. This one right here, this was in my journal. I tried doing this Wednesday directly from this. So you can see how it kind of all pops up. If you're in playtest, I've obviously shown you these sketches before, but these are the colored versions. I decided to color them digitally like I did all of my other Stampin' illustrations. And this one's from the Tim Kerbell's lesson. This one was from the Trick-or-Treaters. That was very... Oh no, this one... Which one was from the Trick-or-Treaters? This one? Am I lying? Which one was it? Oh no, there. She's from the Trick-or-Treaters. This one was from the Style Generator exercise. This was essentially a Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Just lots. There's lots to go into with that one. This one makes me laugh because it looks like Roger the Alien from American Dad. And I do have my, you know, I go through American Dad phases every now and again. I'm not currently in one, so that's why it kind of made me laugh. I was like, well, maybe it's a sign. But that's from Playtest Patreon 3/Burtonville, right? So that's where all of that information is coming from. I did color them in to be a little bit more Valentine's Day as well. So I'm really hitting all points with these ones. And some of the other Playtest Patreon 3 stuff that doesn't relate to that was the Finish It Friday posts. So this one was the little post-it note. This one was that cursed image of the Mickey Mouse balloon. I also did a few things in my 5-year journal I wanted to share. This one was a little Stampin' illustration of myself. I was documenting all the things that was hurting on my body, but I took all that out. I just gave you the character. And then this was a version, like an updated version of something I did in 2020. I want to show you. Hang on. Excuse me a minute. My nasal issues are happening again. I really don't want to have to stop this video and deal with that because I really don't think they're going to get better today, but we'll live. Where is it? Here. This is my 5-year journal. I don't want to give too much away now that it's getting fully finished. This was one I did in 2020, and I wanted to just have another go at it with how I'm creating right now and just kind of notice the differences. So obviously I found a blending stump, and I'm loving that. Also, I'm a lot more messy. Like, it's still got a lot of the original DNA of how I was illustrating back then, but lots more sketchy lines, a lot more kind of carefree and wild. And I just really, really loved it. I love seeing them side by side like this and trying things again. A lot of the time when I do illustrate, I'll illustrate things a few times anyway. And I just like one or, like, if I do 3 images, I might like number 2 the best. Or I might like number 3 the best. Or sometimes number 1. Usually not. But I'll do a whole bunch and I'll be like, yeah, I like that one. But it's not so often that I go back and do something that I did like years ago and then try that again. So I'm just kind of into that, and especially in my 5-year journal, I have, 5 years of history to pull from. I think I might try and do this a few more times and just see. I know that there's a page, I think the leap year in February, yeah, here it is. I do these kind of 3/4, or these were Stampin' illustrations too, I think. This one was actually just a drawing, I believe. But yeah, doing that over and over again just gives me a really good look at how I've changed through time, and I always find that really fascinating. Anyway, so that's where that was from. She was one of those redraw things I wanted to give you. And then we have more Playtest Patreon 3 stuff. This was more of those Wednesday Addams sketches that I did from Burtonville, and then that was the lesson that we did. This was also the other Wednesday lesson that we did. I've got to stop alliterating things. I make voiceovers so hard for myself because everything I do is alliterated. So every time I talk, it's just a tongue twister. Anyway, anyone who's in Playtest Patreon, you already have all of this stuff and at a much larger scale, obviously in your references, but I wanted to give, obviously there's hundreds of people that aren't in it, that are in Collage Club, so I wanted to give you access to this stuff as well, even though it's a part of Patreon, but I wanted to give you a mini version of it, mostly because I'm selfish and the mini versions work for me because I have these small journals that I like to document things in, and I don't have tons of space, so it really works out for me if I can put tiny versions of things in my journal. So I consider this like a compromise. I mean, you can get them on Playtest Patreon if you really want to see them bigger, but also these are mini. So if you're noticing the double up there, just make sure if you're in Patreon, you're printing whichever one works for you. I think most people prefer them a little bit smaller, but I could be completely off about that. Certainly when I look, and I make a lot of decisions based on what I see on social media. Like, you really have no idea how much I base what I see off of people's random posts. Like, even if you think, oh, my Instagram, like, no one really looks at it. Three people comment on my post. Like, if I see that come across my For You page, or like wherever it comes across, I will take note. Like, how big did they print that? Are they using the images that aren't colored in? Are they using the ones that are colored in? Are they printing it on sticker paper and cutting it out? Are they gluing it? Like, all these types of things I will take into account, and they will literally shift how I approach creating it the next time. It really is, it's kind of like a wild game of being influenced by whatever pops up in my feed. But obviously you can always leave a comment, and I can take that into consideration too. But I generally take what I see online and use that as my info to go. Here is the rest of, oh, this one isn't Wednesday Addams, but it's still Valentine's Day-ish. This was They Drew As They Pleased. From the Disney art book. This was all inspired by stuff that we learnt from that video and then interpreted into other pieces. Like this brushstroke, we learned a Mulan calligraphic style of illustrating, and we looked at that and broke it down, and then I ended up doing this based on the information that I learnt in that. So good stuff. If you're a part of Patreon, you already know kind of the backstory of all of this, but if not, this is just for you to have as well, because I do share a lot on Instagram, and sometimes I think it's nice to have access to all the stuff that you end up engaging with on social media, right? Like, if you're seeing something, and I never tell it, like, if you want to see something and you're not a part of Patreon, like, you want to have a go at it, it is never going to upset me. You don't have to be a part of Patreon to look at something and go, oh, I want to have a go at that. I think you should absolutely do it. And even for those people, like, if you're not a part of Patreon, you wouldn't have all the reference sheets. So that's why I still like to include it in Collage Club, just in case you might also be a part of Collage Club, or that's something more affordable that you could be a part of. You'll still get access to that stuff, and you can still put it alongside your work in your journal. I know that's the way I think of it. I could be completely off though, but that's it. That's my brain. It just might be off. This is the last sheet, and I love this so much because it's got the best of both worlds. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. It's a little bit like, it's Valentine's and it's anti-Valentine's at the same time. Like, you've got your original, Valentine's Day, and I love how retro it all looks. Be mine, I love you, XOXO, soulmate. But then there's some that are a little bit more odd, like, I love that you love me. You need to love me more than I love myself. There's a you complete me. I really wanted to put I complete me because I think that's funnier, but I had to balance it out here. I didn't think everyone would be as sarcastic as I was. Bebe, love that journey for me. Simply the best. If you know, you know. Those are all quotes from the same show that I love so much. And then love is such a strong word. ... Got some song lyrics. Love me, say that you love me, and I will always love you. And then, yeah, this one I had to explain, so maybe I didn't do a good job of this one, but the beholder, and then yes, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and essentially the beholder is like, yes, you are beautiful. So anyway, Illy, for anyone over the age of 18, is I love you. ILYSM, I love you so much. I just have to translate that because I'm a millennial myself, and sometimes I don't really know, but I do at least know these ones. I love you, the hearts, they're written like how you would write it on a keyboard. Yeah, anyway, I love this. I'm your gift, enjoy. Insert sappy quote. I can't wait to just print out my photos with Steve and just stick these on top. I think they'd be so funny. I love a good bit of humor. I love really dry humor, sarcastic humor. So if this is a bit much for you, sorry. Hopefully you enjoy the other ones that are in there that are a little bit more normal. But yeah, that's it. That's tons of Valentines and playtest Patreon, but I mean, that's the way it goes, isn't it? I'm only really sharing with you what's currently going on or something from the archives that makes sense. And I just had way too much fun doing all this Valentine's Day stuff. So I hope you find a good use for it. Let me cut to all my information about Collage Club before we wrap up. Collage Club is $5 a month on Teachable. It'll be linked in the description box below. If I make silhouette files for myself, I'll give you access to those as well. So I have all 6 of these sheets have a silhouette file, which means I print them on glossy sticker paper and cut them out. And then that's how I end up with like essentially large sticker sheets. And that's how I use tons of my ephemera and make sure that I am using it rather than I'm just printing it out and never using it, because that used to be a problem of mine. Anyway, there's a lot in there. I always recommend that you only print off the things you think you're going to use and save everything else to your computer for another day, because there's just so much that flies at you. And when you join, you get the month that you join, but there's also 3 months before that that are back cataloged into that subscription. So if you join right now, you get February, January, November, December. So that's 4 months, which, and especially over holidays, like when you're getting December and you're getting Valentine's Day, like I tend to put in extra sheets. October, you tend to get extra sheets as well. Like holiday times, I tend to go a bit nuts. So you can end up with, at the very least, 5 per month, which is 20 US paper-sized sheets of collage images or ephemera to use for your journals, which can be quite overwhelming. So like I said, just save them all to your desktop, keep them in a nice, neat folder, reference them when you need to. I also have a month at a glance. So if you go to the Teachable, and this is open for anyone to see, you can see the whole year laid out, so you can have a quick reference to where that sheet might be. If you've missed any, because we've been going for a couple of years now, all of the sheets, once they're rotated out after 4 months, go to Etsy. They are $15 per set on Etsy. So I always say it's most affordable, like it's most economical to join Collage Club. Even if you join for 1 month and then unsubscribe and then come back 4 months later, I really don't care if people do that, honestly. However you need to save $1, like it really doesn't matter to me. But if you want to do it that way, that's always the cheapest way to do it. But for anyone who does miss out, or is just joining years afterwards, all of those sets still are available on Etsy. Every set comes with the limited use license, which is about 100. I believe I've put 100 handmade items. So if you're someone that has an Etsy store and you hand make your items and you want to put these in there and you want to make some works with them and then sell them, that can be it's good for up to 100 items. I really don't monitor that, but if you want to share it with me, that's really what I like. I just want to see what you do with it. So it's not something I actively go and check for, but it is just included there because I know some people like to use it for stuff like that. And I certainly, like, as attached as I am to all of my work, I have just never felt the need to go and police how it's used around the internet. I mean, you can see this is all from 1 month. I think I just turn it out at a rate that I just can't even keep up with it at this point. So please feel free to make the most of those usage licenses that come with your subscription. And yeah, I don't really have any more information than that. Go check everything out in the description box if you need it. My Etsy shop is open. There's no new products in there, but I know some people were waiting to get their hands on products that they wanted to while the store was closed. And if you are not missing, but if you are wanting something that you don't have in your JLB Creative collection, as far as like stamps or washi tapes or I don't know, even things we did in Patreon, like journal charms or patches, like random things we've made in the past. If you are looking for something specific, please go to the Facebook Creative Outlet, the Facebook page. That's also linked in the description. Just put a post out there. Just say like, hey, I'm looking for this. It's always beneficial if you have a photo of what you're looking for because people are very visual. So if you're like, hey, I really want this patch that was from Playtest Patreon, years ago. Does anyone have this patch and is willing to part with it? Some people might want to sell it to you. Some people might want to swap you for something or do a trade or whatever. Or some people might just want to give it to you. Who knows? But there is a whole bunch of people in that group that have been around for years and years and years. So you should probably try your luck there first. I have plans to do products and to re-release some things maybe in the future or to work on new things, but I am really slow on the physical products right now just since I've transitioned back into dancing. I'm this is going to be the first week I've had my shop open, so I don't even know how this is going to go, but I really have to monitor and make sure that I'm not biting off more than I can chew with that. because I only want to do it good quality or nothing. So yeah, I'll be over there on Etsy as well. And that's where you can also find all of these that you might have missed in previous years if you're looking to get your hands on those. Other than that, I think that's all the information. Thanks so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day today. I'll see you when I see you. Until then, have fun. Goodbye.